All right, looks like we're ready to go. It's started streaming. Cool. In which case we can get started. So start off with a statement of acknowledgement. We'd like to acknowledge that the land we meet on today is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. So, roll call, do we have any apologies? No. Okay, do we have any motions to grant leave of absence? Doesn't look like it. And no leaves of absence? Cool. All right, so next up, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? No. Okay, next up, confirmation of minutes of the March meeting. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that one? Councillor Hughes and Councillor Goldstone, do you wish to speak? No. Great. Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favour? All right. We have a couple people haven't voted. Councillor Little, did you want to speak? Go ahead.
No.
Okay. Well, you've put your hand up rather than the.
Oh, sorry, sorry. No, it was my mistake.
That's all right. And Councillor Sample, I think you still haven't voted.
Cody.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm not on this committee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine then. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Okay, so that's everybody then. That's unanimously carried. Okay. Next up, business arising from minutes. Does anyone have any business arising from the minutes? No. In which case we move right on to officer reports, 7.1, 2020 Gola show. It says here there'll be a presentation, so are we starting with that? Yeah, you can unmute yourself. There you go.
Through the chair, I did send an email around late yesterday. Unfortunately, Patricia and Kate from the Show Society are not able to come to tonight to make a presentation. They did have some words in their email, essentially that they're still, want to work with council staff, but unfortunately, no presentation tonight.
All right. Okay, so would anyone like to move the motion? Councillor Hughes. And a seconder, Mayor, either of you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm happy to move the motion, but just a question on the consultants that council are thinking about looking at helping the show committee, or have they got someone in mind, or they're still sort of thinking about that?
Through the chair, in regards to that, there's been some discussion around some marketing support for them that's sort of been specific to events that we would be looking to utilise and assist them through that part of the process.
Further question, I'd be also interested in like some sort of financial assistance in trying to get them to a break-even point, because they have operated at quite substantial issues there.
Yeah, for sure. Through the chair, in regards to, I guess, in regards to the idea of what we'd be looking to do here with the Show Society, it would be predicated on a similar sort of process that we ran with the Carbeathan Sporting Association in regards to providing assistance from within the organisation in areas that could be, noting that the finance department provided assistance directly to Carbeathan in that instance. But there would be the capacity, if needed, to seek some outside assistance, whether that be for financial requirements as well.
Right. Thank you, Bryce. That makes a bit. Can I speak to the motion now, Cody?
Yep.
Yep. I think what Bryce and the team have done with the Carbeathan Association is fantastic. It was a lot of work, and I think the Gawler Show, it is seen as Gawler's biggest event in Gawler. It's really important to the town, and I think if we can help them and work to be sustainable for the future, like we have with Carbeathan Reserve with the different players there, I think this motion sort of helps us substantially in that regard. So quite happy to move the motion.
And Mayor seconding?
Yep. Can I speak, Chair?
Go ahead.
Look, I think it just supporting what Councillor Hughes has just said. We do need to support the show. This is really unparalleled, what's happening through this pandemic, and I think that any support we can give the show, we should endeavour to do so, but bearing in mind that we do want them to be sustainable. I'd be keen to know the outcomes of if the budget submission is successful, what the outcomes of the $9,500 input is, Bryce. So I guess on that, Chair, will we get an update on how they're going? A further report, I guess it says a further report, but in particular, the outcome of that investment of money. Will we get an update on the outcome of the investment of money?
Through the chair, I would definitely think that this would be a process in regards to what we're trying to do with the Show Society, and very much being able to, in that first report, whether that be July, depending on sort of where the situation is, it can provide a further level of detail in regards to exactly where that budget would be allocated, based on sort of initial discussions around what their immediate needs are and what their more longer term next 6 months needs are. But that can definitely be provided. Within that 9,500, it is very much seen that the majority of that allocation is for staff time. And again, as mentioned previously, around utilising a similar model as to the Carbeathan Sporting Association.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
All right, Councillor Fraser and then Kosh.
Excuse me, I think Bryce just about answered my question. I wanted to know how we came to the figure 9,500.
Through the chair, again, yes, that's sort of been looking at our experiences, my experiences in regards to what was allocated and what was spent regarding Carbeathan, in particular, trying to allocate a commensurate amount of staff time, understanding what the idea is out of this project with the Show Society, trying to gauge that in regards to how that was implemented previously. And that's the basis for that figure there, in particular, the staff allocation, that component.
Great, Councillor Kosh.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. My link dropped out a bit, so I just missed that last question, but mine again is around the sustainability, because the motion actually talks about a sustainable model. So I just want to make sure that, that we're supporting them.
Yeah, it looks like you've.
This year. Is there any indication of what the event might be?
Through the chair, I didn't catch that question. Sorry, Councillor Kosh, you sort of froze halfway through.
Okay, I'll try. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, the one was about the sustainability. The other one was about the event they wish to run later this year.
Okay, through the chair, in regards to sustainability, that's been a key part of this entire conversation in regards to them being able to put on an event we had previously been discussing 2020, and then going forward in a sustainable manner that they will continue to get the sponsorship from council and from other organisations, but they are looking to run a balanced event that covers its costs and doesn't sort of see the same situation that has occurred, unfortunately, in the last year or so. In regards to events going forward, and this was mentioned in the communication from the show, there has been some very initial thoughts, and I wouldn't go any further than that have come from the Show Society in regards to what those events may be, what they would entail. So that would be part of this process here, being very well aware that going forward for the 2020-21 council budget, there is only being proposed the allocation of the $9,500 there. So if there was an event council was being asked to sponsor, we would need to reconsider that there. But at this point, it's really an initial thought, in particular based on the unknown of what events will look like in the second half of 2020, and then even into the first half of 2021, depending on if that's a viable option at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Any other speakers or questions? Otherwise, we'll move the motion. All in favour? And that's unanimously carried, I believe. Okay, next up, Gola Veteran Vintage and Classic Vehicle Club, Club Rooms Proposal, 13 Little Paxton Street, Williston. Let's see, do we have, I've just got someone joining now. Having trouble with the audio, I think. Is this our guest speaker?
I think it's Gavin Launer, Cody.
All right, well, are you able to hear us? I saw a little X instead of a tick when they said connecting to audio, so I'm not sure if they've successfully connected to audio.
So through the chair, they haven't. We don't have a microphone symbol in their participants, so they've only got video connection. Do we have a phone number that we could call and give support?
Chair, maybe Councillor Samble has contact details for Gavin or Peter Bailey.
They're in now. They're connecting to audio now.
All right, great. Can you hear us?
Talking to
Oh, there you go. Yep, we can hear you.
Gavin Lorna speaking on behalf of the Gawler Car Club, assisted by Peter Bailey.
Great. Feel free to give your presentation.
Thank you. I think all of you have the information, our proposal that was put to your committee, outlining what we plan to do, and all the information there, background history of the club. So without going through all of that details again, which I presume you've all read, is there any questions that you need to ask of us or any clarification?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, if not, if you refer to page 11 of 79, about halfway down, this proposal was not pursued any further by the club. To go back a little bit, in 2016, I did a presentation to the full council submitting a proposal to put two sheds on this parcel of land. Subsequently, I received from Rebecca Howard, a former employee of the council, asking us to submit a full plan of what we intend doing, drawn up by a qualified draftsman. Also, a statement of effect, which would say things like, how we would address the zoning, how we would address the flood zone, how we would address the area in relation to other details around the site. Everything. This had to be done by a professional and qualified person. We undertook that and did that. A comprehensive statement was presented at the cost of us of $5,000. We then submitted that to council. Nothing further happened. However, I, along with our former president, Mr. Fred Chapman, was summoned to the council office by Mayor Karen and CEO Henry, and was promptly told that, look, because of the contamination issues, it is not in the best interest of the council to pursue this matter any further. That, as far as they're concerned, our proposal was finished, done, finished forever. I said, well, why don't you do some bore tests and to find out exactly what is in the ground, so that council will know and also we will know. Then we know if it's really is poor contamination, to what extent. We would then be in a position to say, okay, we then have to look elsewhere. So the decision was made for us. Therefore, we did not pursue the site. And then subsequently, since 2016, we have now been looking for other sites to no avail. So we decided to come back and re-look at this site, and consequently we're now at the stage where Henry's been most helpful, and along with Jack, and has provided us some information how we shall now look at it in relation to the site for drilling and things like that, which we fully agree with. So that's where we are at the present time. So that was a little bit of background, that we had approached you 4 years ago. We were knocked back. We're now providing another fresh proposal, hoping you will be able to proceed with this one.
All right, thanks for your presentation. Does anyone have any questions to ask them after that? Otherwise, would anyone like to move the motion? Councillor Kosh, the Mayor. All right. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I'll support this. I think it's a logical step forward, and I know the car club's been for a number of years. Obviously, you know, there was the at Princess Park, on Two Wells Road, etc., etc. You know, if the investigations prove to be positive, I think it'd be quite good, because I'd be co-locate with Willow's Shed and also create a precinct down there. The only concern I have is that the depth that say a pylon might have to go down. That investigation will tell us, you know, would tell the club how deep that pylon would need to go down to get into secure ground. So I think it's a good step forward, and I think it will just sort of vitalise that part of town and be a great asset for our community. Thank you.
Great. And May, would you like to speak to it?
Thanks, Chair. Yep. Support this proposal going forward. Hopefully we can get a good outcome.
Do we have any other speakers on that one? Otherwise, we'll move the motion. All in favour? That's unanimously carried. Thanks, Gavin, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we've got 7.3, 2020 Goal of Fringe Review. Do we have a mover for this one? The Mayor, and a seconder. Councillor Little. All right, would you like to speak, Mayor?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the report. I think it was quite a different fringe this year. I think, to be fair, most people missed Walker Place. It wasn't quite the same, but I think I'd like to congratulate staff on a full range of different events in different areas of town. They were much appreciated by a broad range of people. So yeah, look forward. Well, I guess we'll see what the future looks like for Fringe, you know, with what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. But hopefully we can have an event. I suspect there'll be rules around that, but yeah, let's see how we go. Let's hope we can get back to Walker Place. Thank you.
Great, and do you want to speak, Councillor Little?
No, you're right, thank you.
Okay, I'll open up to discussion. Does anyone wish to speak or have any questions? Councillor Goldstone?
Yeah, just with regard to the options for the, I think it's on, where are we, page 29 of 79, where it talks about the options for the events. I think the combination option, which is mentioned in that on that page, where we're using both the Civic Centre and Walker Place, I think that's a good way to go, because the Civic Centre has been successful, especially with the kids events. And so, yeah, I hope we sort of go down the same track with the combined option. That's all I wanted to mention on that one.
Great, and any other speakers? Otherwise, we'll move the motion. All in favour? That's unanimously carried. So now we move on to 7.4, Customer Service Strategy Update. Do we have a mover on this one? Or questions or anything along those lines? The Mayor? And Councillor Goldstone, would you like to speak to it, Mayor?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to move the motion and provide some feedback at the same time. Because I think this has been a good piece of work. I've just got a question on the customer service strategy, and I'm just trying to find it. In there they talk about a paid package option for managing social media, i.e. scheduling. Scheduling is quite an easy thing to do in social media. Is there a reason, and I've looked at the costs, they're quite costly. What's been the discussion around that? And I'm just trying to find the name of it. I can't seem to find it for some reason. Yeah, just a question on that. Thanks, Chair.
Yep, Erin.
Yeah, that's one of the many options that are in there. Everything is sort of in exploration mode as opposed to locked in. And that was one of the areas that we were hoping for feedback on as well, just whether that was seen to be valuable or not. So really it's in there for a discussion point as opposed to anything that's locked in. It's still very much a draft strategy and open to adaptation.
Well, we're asking to finalise this.
Yes, so feedback from this committee's meeting, and then it will be worked on again and brought back to a future committee meeting for finalisation. So not to be finalised this evening. We'll work on it again after feedback.
All right. So let's see, Councillor Goldstone.
No, okay, thanks.
All right, Councillor Kosh.
Just got a question about just got a question about the feedback. Are we able to provide feedback after this meeting? I've got some things I would like to talk about, but probably not at this meeting because there's a fair few of them. But is it possible to provide feedback outside of this meeting?
Through the chair, yes, definitely. We're hoping to bring it back to the July CCS meeting, so we have about a month and a half before we'd need anything finalised.
Okay, so if I put something in writing and send it to you, that'd be okay.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. I'll do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or speakers? In which case, all in favour? Unanimously carried. We move on to 7.5, strategic sport and active recreation planning in Gola. Do we have a mover for this one, Councillor Hughes?
Can I speak to the motion now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, I think it's mainly a noting report, but it's also a good positioning sort of document as well, which is really good. Going to be further work, of course, needed, but I think it's really important and timely to keep moving this along. And I think it is really important for the future that the sporting grounds that this work is ongoing, and for the swimming pool of course as well. But probably also got a question though, is there any feedback on the grants at the moment that's not in the report that could be given back? And I noticed that recently the country shows funding, it seemed that every country show got extra funding for projects, but Gawler missed out. But whether how we're going grant wise for sport, and would be interesting to get that feedback, please.
Through the chair, in regards to the Gawler show, I know that they did submit an application to that funding, that federal funding grant.
Yeah.
From their point of view, the unfortunate thing was the timing of their application and then the awarding of those grants. The subsequent time between that was the timing of the significant fires along the East Coast and also in South Australia. So the funding round and was actually slightly changed in between the submission and then the allocating. So it actually made the Gawler show ineligible for that, as it hadn't been directly impacted by the fires. So they're also looking in regards to what round 2 of that that was scheduled, what will happen with that funding going forward. So there's been no further decision about that in regards to the country show funding.
The show funding that was announced this week, there was a lot of areas that weren't fire affected. That Yankalilla, a lot of areas that weren't involved in fire. A lot of I think there was over a dozen country shows in South Australia that got substantial $180,000 to $200,000 funds for upgrading toilets and office buildings and halls and things like that.
Okay, so I'll take that on notice, but we may actually be talking about 2 funding programs now, given that announcement only last week, and the one I was talking about was a couple of months ago. So I can follow it up and provide some clarification in regards to that for you. In regards to Office for Rec and Sport funding in particular, late last year, you may recall that the state government and the office undertook a review of their funding programs. Since that time, the only funding that has been actually has opened and been announced is regards to existing programs that were focused on the football, netball and cricket rounds. So at the moment, they're still finalising what the outcomes of that review was, with the goal for announcing funding programs and allocations for the new financial year. How that has been impacted over the last 8 weeks by the COVID pandemic, I'm unsure regarding timing.
Great. So that we need a seconder for that motion. The mayor, you wish to speak?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yeah, look, I think we need to continue with our strategic priorities of sport and recreation. And this really fits. We are way behind in the funding of our sports and recreation from state and federal government. It's very hard to get those figures, but if you look at our infrastructure of our sporting clubs and our precincts, they are quite ageing. And I think it's right and proper that we continue to put sport and recreation as a priority. So this fits with that. We have to continue to look for opportunities for grant funding. It is very difficult in this environment. There's huge competition, as you would expect, but we'll keep advocating. So fingers crossed, I guess. Thanks.
Do you have any other speakers or any questions, Councillor Goldstone?
If we just get an update on where we're at in terms of the additional land that's required, or has nothing more been done on that at the moment?
Through the chair, that is part of the ongoing investigations in regards to this project and the implementation. And we'd be looking to provide a further, more substantial update at the next meeting.
Anyone else? In that case, move the motion. All in favour? That's unanimously carried. Okay. Mayor?
I'm happy to move, Chair.
Happy to move the next motion. Just a second. So that's Community Connect program.
I thought it was.
Oh no, hold on. I skipped ahead once. Home assist COVID response. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'd just like to congratulate staff on the work that they're doing within this very challenging environment. I think they need to be congratulated. Sana and your team do a great job. Yeah, and I'll just commend the report and the motion.
Great. And let's see, Councillor Fraser, any seconding? Yeah. Do you want to speak?
No, other than that, I agree with the mayor. I think they've done an amazing job in trying times.
Great. And Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, just the same. It's not an easy job any time, and now it's more difficult. But yeah, very important for our whole community, and all the feedback I get is very positive. And I think this work is something we need to promote more. But it does work really well for our community. So it's good news.
Great. Any other speakers? In that case, all in favour? That's unanimously carried. Okay, and now we move on to 7.7 Community Connect program. Another important program. Mayor?
Happy to move the motion and recommendation, Chair.
Great. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Little. Great. And Mayor, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just quickly, I think this is another example of council as local government being closest to the community and just using the connections that we have to ensure that people who might be isolated are getting the help that they need or being connected to the help that they need. I think council as a facilitator plays a fantastic role, and the newsletter that has recently been produced is an example of an initiative that people wanted and now they're receiving. So I'd like to congratulate the team on this program, which was as a result of COVID-19 in direct response to a community need, and places, organisations like UCare have I've received really positive feedback about the work of staff to connect them through. Salvation Army Gawler are singing Linda's praises in particular, and the compliments go on and on about the work. And I know there's been some fantastic outcomes, particularly around individuals experiencing homelessness. So congratulations for the work that's been done. Thank you.
Yes, and Councillor Little, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, just slightly. Yeah, I sort of reiterate what the Mayor said. I've been contacted by a few organisations who said the staff have done a marvellous job. And like in the current climate, I think it's been a great initiative. That's why I was quite happy to second it.
Great. And Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, I wasn't. I agree. It's a fantastic process. It's really important for our community. So and yeah, the feedback has been good. It's something we need to keep promoting as well.
Any other speakers on this one? In that case, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? That's unanimously carried. That brings us to 7.8, Library and Community Service COVID-19 response. Do we have a mover and a seconder for this one? Councillor Fraser and Councillor Hughes. Speak, Councillor Fraser.
Yes, once again, I think this is an amazing job that the staff have done, trying to keep up with and staying connected with the community. It says in the report about the grants applied for 2,500 and 5,000. When will we know whether we've received those?
Who's going to respond to this one?
Sorry, my visual has dropped out. I hope you can hear me. We received notification today that we were successful for the $5,000 digital devices grant, and I'm still waiting to hear about the $2,500 grant.
Congratulations. Good.
Yeah, it's good news. All right, Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, congratulations on the grants. That's fantastic news. And also congratulations on all the different innovative ways the library sort of got the service and connected to the community. It's really important. Libraries, I think it's often people who don't go to the library don't realise how many different people are connected by our library back through as community. It's such an important service. So keeping that service going with different lendings and extending borrowings and emails and messages out to people has been really important and really good at this time. So I think that's fantastic. And now with the gradual reopening of the library and looking at Evanston Gardens site later on as well, I think that's just been great. So yeah, congratulations on that side, but also just the whole continue on. I think it's just great how well staff have actually taken the initiative. I think it's really good to see. So thanks.
Yeah, it's good to see that the library is going to be able to reopen again as well. So yeah, lots of good things happening with the library at the moment. The Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just agree with everything that's been said. Congratulations on the successful grant. Fantastic. Always good to get a bit of money. But yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to the library being open. You don't know what you've got until you haven't got it. And I'm sure staff are looking forward to getting back involved. I mean, it's not without its challenges with social distancing and all that goes with that, and being a little bit worried about you know, a second wave of infection, but I think we've done so well. We've almost eliminated this virus, so let's see how far we can take it, but also get back to some kind of normality. So good luck with the opening, or it's already open, but yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be having a look around, looking forward to it. So well done, everyone.
Thank you very much. It's been a great experience. The team have been really wonderful in delivering services to the community in a very challenging time, and just the willingness with which they're ready to assist has been wonderful. Thank you.
All right, do we have any other speakers in this one? Councillor Fraser?
Just before I finish up, we've been open for 2 days now, so just a question, how's it been in the last 2 days?
Through the chair, it's been fairly steady actually. We have a maximum capacity requirement of 10 people at this point in time, and luckily we haven't had to make anyone wait yet. The most we've had at one time is about 8, I think, but steady throughout the day. Yesterday we had, I think, 74 people come through the door, and this morning we'd eclipsed that by sort of 1 o'clock. We had sort of more than that by then, so I'm not sure what the final number was, but it's been steady for the 2 days. Lots of people coming in, very, very pleased that the library's open, and we even had a couple who took a train trip from Onkaparinga because they wanted to come down and get a particular book that we had on the shelf. So people are definitely coming from far and wide to come back to the library, which is nice to see.
That's good.
Okay, do we have any other speakers? Otherwise, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? That's unanimously carried, which I believe brings us to items listed for discussion. Do we have any items listed for discussion? Items listed for discussion at future meetings. Next up then, questions without notice. Do we have any questions without notice? No, in which case, motions without notice. Do we have any motions without notice? No, in which case we will close the meeting, 7:43. Thanks everyone for coming.